Good day. This is Teresa Fredericks from Growing Businesses Using Projects, bringing you yet another video. This time I'm giving you an example of a project scope statement for a market research project. As usual, my aim with these videos is to make project management easy so that the principles can be applied by the ordinary man. So let us just take a look at the template I've developed for this project. Now, I normally like to put background and justification for the project. Why? Because I think it's important that you understand why it was initiated, its purpose and business objective. Scope description. Here you're describing in detail the project and product scope. You're looking at quality, compliance, and other requirements. I always tell my students that government is a stakeholder in every project. For the project, you have to find out which government agency has rules and regulations or laws that govern your project and that you have to comply with. Then there's acceptance criteria. When in closing, you have the deliverable. What was the agreed acceptance criteria? What would allow the client to say, yes, you have delivered as required? Then you have the deliverables. And here you're looking at not only the product or service or results, but you're looking at the project. Now, you may find it strange that I took this particular type of project to do a project scope statement. But you see, results are one of the types of projects. Projects create products. There are service projects, but there are also projects that bring out documents and outcomes and things like that. And in looking at the videos, most of them concentrate on products. But it's very important for you to know how to do a scope of work for a project that involves reporting, reports, and things like that. Project exclusions. You're getting the boundaries of the project. It's important to say what is in the project and what is not in the project. It helps to manage stakeholders' expectations. Because remember, many stakeholders will have contributed in terms of the requirements. And they need to be told, listen, your requirements, only 3 or 4 of them are being met by this project, the others are not. This is to avoid confusion later on. It's called managing stakeholder expectations. Then you have constraints, assumptions, milestones, and agreements. I have another video that goes into detail in terms of what every one of these things represent. But by the time we are finished with this video, you will have a good idea of what it represents. So let's look at this particular marketing project. It's for a company called Sampsons Enterprises. It had 40% of the fruit juice market, but is losing market share. Therefore, its returns to shareholders are declining. There have been complaints from customers. There are new entrants into the market that are obtaining increasing market share. But in this particular case, its decline in sales started before these new entrants came on the market. Then you have product packaging has not been changed in the last 5 years. You know, for instance, people look at, they see first with their eyes. So if it's not attractive, they may not buy it. The company is still profitable, but has to reverse the decline. The company recognizes that for its continued profitability, it has to regain at least 20% of the local markets within the next 2 years. That is the business objective. So let's turn our attention a little more to the project. Management tasked the marketing department with the responsibility of undertaking a market research project to determine the reason or reasons for the drop in sales and loss of market share, and to make appropriate recommendations to ensure the continued profitability of the company and recapture of market share. That's the project objective. Okay, so we clearly see the project objective. The project has to include an assessment of customer complaints, etc., to determine whether the problem stems from internal sources. The management recognizes that there could be issues with its product and or its packaging, which could also contribute to the declining sales, but that these issues have to be dealt with by other projects as the marketing department does not have the required expertise in these areas. So here we have before you the business objective and the project objective. The business objective is targeting at least 20% of the local market within the next 2 years. And the project objective is doing the market research, but what is significant, it has to be done within 4 months, and there's an estimated cost of $150,000. Now I should say that the business objectives sometimes need more than one project for it to be achieved, so that the portfolio manager has to ensure that there is a good balance of projects that would allow the business to achieve its business objective. So let's look at what is in scope. But scope refers to all the work involved in creating the products of the project and the processes used to create them. So what's in scope? The team has to develop and obtain approval of a methodology for the conduct of the market research. You don't just go out and start market research. You sit down and say, how are we going to do it? A work plan and budget have to be developed and submitted for approval. There has to be a milestone listing. Milestones are the significant points in the project. Normally the completion of major deliverables, but we'll talk about that later on. And there has to be a listing with the schedule, proposed schedule for the project. There's the need for customer surveys at all levels. Draft customer survey forms have to be developed and approved. They are required to obtain feedback from customers on the company's products, its systems, etc. Management has to look at these forms and say, are we going to get all the information we need? So there have to be a sign-off on these forms. Some attempt has to be made to examine the drinks market, as persons can be switching to other types of drinks, even substituting more water. So let's just step back a little. Some of the things the company has asked for, they suggested that discussions be held with its 2 biggest distributors as well as purchasing staff of the 3 main wholesale outlets that take its products. So it's going to them because they feel that they will have market information that can help. An interview form for the discussions has to be approved, developed and approved by management. This will allow for structured interviews. Once you have interviews as part of a research project, you should have a form so that everybody being asked particular questions will be asked the same questions, so that you can actually be able to analyze the findings properly. The project has to be the tropical fruit market, local tropical fruit market, to determine any trends, changing customer preferences, changes in market share, etc., that need to be taken into account. It has to include competitive analysis. So we spoke about the need to look at the drinks market, but other in-scope items with the status reports have to be completed on the achievement of the various milestones. A draft report has to be submitted, and the final report will take into consideration feedback from management. Anytime you have a project that prepares reports, you should have a draft report first that management can look at and say, listen, these are the gaps, we need them filled, but it has to be informed by what you had in your terms of reference. So you have to do a proper terms of reference and include all the things you want in this report. So for this project, what will be out of scope? The project exclusions. There's the need to have a technical assessment done on the quality, taste, appearance, etc. of the products of Sampson Enterprises vis-a-vis major competitors. This will be done by a project that will be outsourced. This assessment has to be completed in time to be an input into the final report of the market study. A packaging project will also be undertaken by the company to ensure that its products remain attractive to customers. People tend to go towards things that are attractive, and its packaging has not been changed in the last 5 years. This project also has to be an input into the final completion of the marketing report. Management reviews will be done fortnightly, but this will be done by management. So it's not part of the scope of this project. We talked about acceptance criteria. In this case, methodology, work plans, survey forms, budget, schedule, and milestone listings are approved by management. Management will have what they want from these reports, what they want from these documents, and once they get it, the sign-off will be the acceptance criteria. Status reports are done in keeping with the work plan and report on achievement of the required milestones. So when you they get a status report, they're going to look to see, are we in time? Is this have we met this milestone, and have we discussed achievements that have taken place? And when you're looking for discussion of achievements, you're not looking for 50% and 60% completed. Let them say what was done. These are accepted by management. That is another acceptance criteria. Format for the preparation of the draft report meets the management approval. Customers survey report clinically documents customers' concerns and or acceptance of products and services, etc. with recommendations. Interview reports are properly prepared and management is able to get a proper assessment of the views of its distributors and major wholesalers. Draft and final report cover all the requirements established, and there are recommendations for the way forward with an implementation schedule. So when you get this and management says yes, these are the acceptance criteria, but management would have had to ensure that if this project was not being done internally, that they clinically document all they require with respect to these particular reports in the terms of reference if they were given it to a consultant. So what are the deliverables? The deliverables normally are written as norms or norm phrases. So you have development and sign-on of a methodology, work plan and budget, submission of draft survey reports, submission of a format for final report. They should have submitted a report, a format of how the final report will be done, what appendices it should contain, and things like that. Report on the interviews, discussion, customer survey report, report on the analysis of the food market, inclusive of the competitive analysis and analysis of the drink market. Status reports have to be completed on the achievement of the various milestones. So what are some of the assumptions? Distributors and wholesalers will cooperate and provide meaningful input into the exercise. Internal staff will be able to properly plan and execute this project, and there will be no availability issues. Disbursements to ensure proper implementation of the project will be given when required. There will be very little bias in the analysis of the data, even if the findings are not favorable to the marketing department, and approvals will be timely. Now, assumptions are things you believe to be true, and you have to make assumptions so you can continue planning. It's like if you are trying to get revenue for oil in Trinidad and Tobago for next year, you have to make assumptions about price, production, and sales, and things like that. Now, constraints, you have the budget, you have the schedule, you have the other projects because they are dependencies created, you have quality, approval, resources have to be internal, so you have to use what you have. Procedures, you may have to stick to internal policies and procedures. We talked about milestone, and I'll just give you a little brief. It's a significant event, but it could also be end of deliverables, completed approvals, major approvals. It could be key external dates. It could be meetings like key meetings, kickoff meetings, etc. Each of the milestones must have a date, and in this case, the milestones will be the dates of the major deliverables that are submitted. If you like this content, just give this video a thumbs up, and see you in the next video. And of course, please subscribe.